Welcome to this one-shot battle report for 5 Parsecs from Home, a solo skirmish tabletop game. I hope you have fun with it as I had with recording it, and let's see what we're playing today. Today's mission will be deliver, which means that we have to deliver a specific item, and in this case a disk containing some codes that we need to put into a terminal that sits within this old abandoned facility, on top of which there is a nuclear reactor that is going to explode. And we have to do that as well in a limited time frame. We have the mission condition that is called brief engagement, which needs us to roll on every turn to see if the mission is finished right there and now, or if we have some more turns to do so. Around the facility, because it's a little bit of an old and ransacked facility, there is hazardous material in front of them, which is considered as difficult terrain, so to speak. There's 2 on the outside and there is 1 on the inside, and then there is in the middle of the table, more or less, is the console where we have to get to. The crew that was sent to do this delivery is led by none other than Cole, and as a leader he has a luck point, which is something very good and very special, which lets us cheat death basically for once. Other than that, he's just a plain basic human being. Accompanying him is Baraka. She has a similar stat line as Cole, but doesn't get the luck point because she isn't the leader. But I gave her a weapon with some more damage, so she can go out and hunt those opponents and kill them. Next up we have Vivian, and she is really fast. She has a speed of 5 inches. This is also why we gave her the disc to deliver and also a frag vest, so she's a bit more durable. And the last in our crew is Jared, which just has a basic human stat line. Nothing special. We just gave him a bunch of equipment and hope that he doesn't die first. And our position today is Converted Acquisition. A nightmarish cyborg race according to the fluff, and what better model to represent them is as some Necrons. They're really tough. They have a toughness of 5, which is really hard to get through, and they also have a 6+ saving throw. And their specialist, which is who leads them today, also has a shell gun which does some area damage, so quite nasty guys. And with that, the forces get deployed and we can start the battle. Before we start with our first battle round, we check if we seize the initiative by rolling 2d6, and if we got 10 or higher, then we surprise our enemy, but this time we have no luck, so let's go to the first round. At the beginning of the round, I roll a d6 for every member of my crew, and for every 1 that I roll, I can activate a model before the enemies. The enemy then spends their movement basically just to get a bit into position, to move forward their movement of 4 inches, and to get into some sort of cover next to the building. And from the survivors, or for the crew's point of view, they cannot see any of the enemies yet, so there is no shots to be fired. But this might change in the future. And with the crew, I spend my action as well to move into cover. Jared and Vivian move as directly as possible to the console over the right hand side, and Baraka and Cole, they move to the left to be more to engage directly with the enemy. They also spend their movement and their combat action as a dash, so they can move 2 inch more, but I just spend the movement so that I can get into cover as much as possible to not be shot down early. So we're already in round 2, and with this reaction roll I actually got a 1, so I choose to activate Vivian. And she uses her activation to move and dash the full 7 inches closer to the building and closer to the entrance to the console. The first enemy then moves up closer to my group of crew, and with that it also gets a clear view out of Baraka. She is in the open, so on a 5-up he can hit her, but luckily for me he doesn't hit, and the others then just spend their movement to gain a bit of ground, but always keeping a bit in cover as well. It is then my crew's turn to react, and first off is Baraka that tries to get revenge on the attack she got, and she has to hit the enemy on a 6-up to hit, but misses. Then Cole goes and also repositions himself and takes another shot at the same enemy, also on a 6-up, but misses as well. Quite a bad start for the crew. Jared just gets behind some more cover beyond the other entrance and dashes. And at the end of the round I check for brief engagement. I have to roll 2d6, and if I roll equal or lower than the current round number, which is 2, the battle just stops. So that's why I can't fail in round 1, but now I have to check. And with that we're already in round 3, but no luck in the reaction roll. So now the first enemy moves up, and since Cole is within 6 inches and in the open, it has to hit on a 3-up, which is quite bad. And then it has to roll over the toughness of Cole, which is also only a 3, so on a 3 or more it as well wounds Cole, which it does. And Cole would normally be taken out with that, but because he has a luck point, he like dodges the bullet and dodges out of the way. I use a d10 here to determine the direction he dodges out, and a 1d6 determines how much, so just 1 inch. And next up, it's the specialist's turn. It moves up and then takes a shot against Baraka with its shell gun, which has 2 shots. So he rolls 2 dice, and on a 6-up he hits Baraka, which he does, and then he has to roll over her toughness, which is another 3, and he does. So Baraka gets taken out. But that's not the end. It's an area damage weapon, so he also gets to get a shot against Cole on another 6-up, but this time he doesn't hit. And the last enemy just moves up. He doesn't have a clear line of sight, so he doesn't. Cole in an act of revenge then moves up the board closer to the enemy and takes a shot. Because he's so close, and with his combat skill and weapon that he has, he automatically hits, but he still has to roll over the toughness of the enemy, which is a 5-up, which he luckily gets. But the enemy also has a saving throw. If the enemy rolls a 6-up here, he will not die, but he fails quite miserably, and so the first enemy is taken out as well. Next up is Jared. He also moves up a bit the board to get a better shot at the enemy. Shoots as well, but he has to hit on a 6-up because the enemy is as well in the cover, and he's out of range, or out of 6 inches more or less, so he misses. And then Vivian just moves up and dashes as well right next to the console, so on the next turn she could enter the disc and end the mission. But first we have to check for brief engagement, but this fails, so let's go to round 4. So we start round 4 with the reaction roll. I should have only rolled 3 dice here instead of 4 because Baraka got taken out, but I don't think it makes any difference. Vivian will be able in this turn to enter the disc into the terminal, and with that end the mission in a victory. So this concludes this battle report for 5 Parsecs from Home. There's so much more in this game. There's a whole campaign, and everything you saw in this battle report, so like all the enemies, all the crew, all the mission even, is randomly generated from tables upon tables. And in the campaign you even have more. You have invasions, you can make enemies and rivals, and so forth. You visit new worlds which have specific rules upon them. So if you want to see maybe a small campaign, let me know in the comments. This is also a bit of an experiment for me, how to do such bad reports. There's heavy editing going on, which takes me a lot of time, but it was so much fun to do. And I hope I can produce some more. So let me know, and we see us maybe in the next battle report.